Hey guys, it's Barb from Making It Home. So today I decided to do a video on how to make a very simple teriyaki beef jerky in your dehydrator, because a lot of people have dehydrators. They're easy to get, they're inexpensive, and I just thought it would be fun to do. Plus I have cat hair on me as usual. Plus I have had a craving for beef jerky lately. You'll notice I use soy in this, and I know in a previous video I talked about how we are eliminating soy in our diet. I did talk to my doctor about the soy usage. She said that as long as you're using it in very small doses and not getting extra soy, you're fine. So I'm still allowed to use it with my sushi and this beef jerky recipe, which I actually don't make that often. This is going to be so easy, you guys, anybody can do it. The first thing you need to do is get a cut of meat that works for this. And the best kind of meat that I have found that works for beef jerky, and a lot of people say this as well, is eye of round. So when we were in Costco the other day, I picked up, they have a 2-pack roast thing, like a 2-pack of roasts. They're eye of round roasts, and they're really actually pretty reasonably priced. I think we paid like $18 for these 2 big roasts. And well, they weren't huge, but they work best for beef jerky because they're a very lean cut of meat. And when it comes to jerky, you don't want fat. It just causes issues, and it can go bad really easily. This recipe for beef jerky, I have never stored the jerky anywhere but in my fridge. It never really lasts that long because we eat it so quickly, but it's not for like a long-term storage situation. So I'm out of safety and precaution. I'm not going to recommend you store this in like a jar, a canning jar, or a sealable bag or anything like that in your pantry. I'm going to recommend that you store this in the fridge. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how we cut our eye of round steak. I'll give you some tips in this clip, and you'll notice there's some man hands. Yeah, that's Aaron. Yeah, I didn't all of a sudden get man hands. Let's go ahead and go to that clip, and I'm going to show you how we cut the eye of round properly and the marinade that I make. The marinade that I use isn't a recipe. I just kind of pull other recipes and just kind of throw together my own thing. And like I said, there's soy in this recipe, but if you want, you can leave the soy completely out. The only reason I put it in is for the salt content. So the first thing Aaron's going to do is cut off the extra fat, because you do not want any fat in your jerky. Now Aaron is going to slice it into, you want to do about 1/4 inch thick slices, because you want this to be as thin as possible so that it can dry properly and evenly. You can either do it against the grain or with the grain. If you do it against the grain, you're going to get like this. You're going to get a softer, more chewy type of jerky, which is what we like. If you did it with the grain, as you can see the lines there, you're going to get more of a chewy, harder type of jerky, and we don't really care for that. So we're going to go ahead, and Aaron's going to slice this really super thin, and then I'll show you what those slices look like when he's done. One of the tips we've seen with making beef jerky is that you would probably be better off putting it in the freezer for about half an hour so that you can get the meat nice and firm so it's easier to cut. But you know, in our household, we never do anything the easy way. So if you like more uniform and you have a hard time cutting things like me, that's why Aaron's doing this, then you probably should put it in the freezer for about half an hour. It'll get the meat a little more stiff so that it will cut easier. Now I'm going to mix up my marinade so that once we got that mixed up, we put everything into a gallon sandwich bag and let it marinate overnight. You can mix whatever you want into your marinade. I'm making like a teriyaki version, and I am using a little bit of soy because it adds a saltiness, but if you don't like using soy, I am also using coconut aminos, which are a great soy alternative. So we'll just put that all in a bowl and mix it up. And I'm just guessing here. I just kind of make my own concoction. But it also depends on how much meat you have, how much marinade. I used a little bit of soy sauce. I'm using some Worcestershire. Does anybody know how to freaking pronounce that? Do you know how to freaking pronounce Worcestershire? Are you gonna say anything? My silent partner. Hopefully this is the sweet coconut amino. Let's see. Yeah, sweet. I mean, I think I want some brown sugar maybe. Or, you know what would be better? Honey. You think we should put honey in it? So yeah, I just kind of get creative. Whatever you make, you just want it to be strong so that it can actually get the meat really filled with flavor. Flavorful. Shush! Why you always be picking on me? Yes, I use a lot of garlic. Get over yourself. I don't know, you think that's enough for what we have? Next we're gonna put them into the sandwich bag, and then you're gonna pour all your marinade in and basically soak it overnight. I think it's like 6 to 8 hours is really ideally how long you want it to marinate for. Okay, so now we've got it into the bag. We added our marinade. I left some air in there so that we can massage our meat. You want to get the meat all over all the sauce. You want to get the sauce and make sure that it's gotten all over every single piece of meat. So the meat has a tendency, I know you probably can't hear me. The meat has a tendency to stick together, so you want to massage it so you make sure that you get all the sauce, the marinade, in between each piece. And you could add like fresh garlic to this if you wanted. You could add a little bit of like chipotle seasoning in there, even though it's teriyaki, a nice little spice. But we're just keeping it simple this time. Just rub the meat. Rub it good. Stop it. Just spank the meat a little. You want it tenderized. Okay, so once you've got your meat all massaged good, you can tell it's really looking pretty good because the meat's actually dark. What you want to do is open this up just a little bit so you don't get sauce everywhere. And you want to try and squeeze out as much air as possible. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you want it to kind of have as little air as possible so the marinade stays in the meat. And then you set this in your fridge tonight. Well, it's midnight right now, so we're going to set it in there and leave it in overnight, and then I'm going to come back and show you how we put it on in the dehydrator. Now that you've cut it up and you've got it in the marinade and you put it in the fridge, you leave it in the fridge overnight, or I believe 6 to 8 hours. It really depends on how strong a flavor you want. Once you've gotten that out of the fridge and you're ready to go, I'm going to show you the next step where you just put it into the dehydrator. So this is my dehydrator. I have a very basic Nesco dehydrator. The Nesco comes with 4 trays. Yeah, 4 trays. You can always add trays, of course. So what we're going to do is I'm going to get out the meat and we're going to put it into the dehydrator. I've gotten my beef jerky, as you can see, out of the fridge, and you're going to want to wash your hands, take off any jewelry, which I've already done, and this is going to be messy. All you do is you want to make sure that none of the meat is overlapping and just spread it out evenly on your dehydrator trays. And I always start with the bottom tray first, just common sense there. So you just go ahead. And this is I always make a mess. This is the reason you want to make sure that your slices are pretty uniform, because when you're dehydrating, you want to make sure that they all get done pretty much at the same time. And you're going to get a more consistent, jerky texture, I guess. Because it sucks if you have a piece that's got a thick side and a thin side, because then you're going to overcook part of it and undercook the other part. So now I've got the jerky loaded into the dehydrator. I am going to put the fan on top. You'll notice there's some space. It's because I didn't have enough jerky to fill all the trays. So I just put the fan on top. I'm a hot mess, y'all. You know that. I don't know about your dehydrator, but on my dehydrator, it gives a suggested temperature. So we are going to put it at 160, and I've got the dial, and you just set it to 160. And then for mine, it's very basic. It's very simple. I don't have a fancy one. You just plug it in. Now it's plugged in, and we just set it and forget it. Throughout the process, one of the tips that I recommend is to kind of cycle the trays and just rotate them. Because the fan is in the top tray is going to get a lot more of the heat, and it's going to dehydrate faster. So I just recommend like every half an hour or hour even, just to rotate the trays, take the one from the bottom, put it on the top, and just keep doing that. And it just helps to make sure that they all get done around the same amount of time. So here's the final product. It turned out really good. It was really tasty. This isn't all of it, trust me. The rest of it is in our storage bag. So the flavor wasn't quite as sweet as I want, so next time I think I'm going to add a little bit more honey. I want to say it took about 4.5 hours for it to be fully dehydrated to the right level of doneness. It looks a little dark, but that's because of the soy sauce. It's not burnt. It tastes really, really good. Aaron, I had to stop him from eating it before I could film this final video. So that's how you make beef jerky in the dehydrator. Really simple, really easy, and super tasty. I hope you like this video, and if you want to see more content about how to nurture a simpler, happier, healthier home with a little bit of sass, hopefully you don't mind that, go ahead and subscribe and hit the notification bell so you always know when I've posted a new video. There's man hands. They're not my man hands. I don't have man hands. I have a craving for beef jerky. I love beef jerky. When we were buying, where did that come from? And I swear, oh my gosh. One of the biggest, I give you cat hair all over me. Oh, freaking cat lady.